Welcome back to Under Oath. Today we're going to be talking to actor Aleks Paunovic. Aleks, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Jeff. How are you, man? Good morning.
I'm good, man. You know what's interesting? I actually do a radio show called Monsters of the Morning every Monday, and I do the nerdy news with a friend of yours.
Oh, Carlos!
Yeah, Carlos, man.
I love Carlos. I just saw him like last weekend. We went to the fight. I did a Comic-Con in close to Orlando, and I just saw him. I love him, man. We became very fast, lifelong friends doing Hawkeye in Atlanta.
Now, both of you were in the Tracksuit Mafia and Hawkeye. You know, you were out there for how many months?
I think we were out there for 7 months, man.
Wow, 7 months, man. And
Yeah.
I mean, you're stuck in Atlanta. Wouldn't say stuck. You're stuck in Georgia. You know, what is that like? Living this transient existence from this city to this city, just constantly on the move.
Well, that specific one, it was the pandemic. It was during the pandemic, so we both kind of got to Georgia during the pandemic, and we also didn't want to be the ones that were reckless and getting out there because we didn't want to stop production if we got sick. So we were just trying to stay as healthy as possible. So that was a mental stress of just trying to deal with going to work and then just going home and not really having a nightlife because you just didn't want to put yourself in a position where you could possibly get sick. So it was strenuous, but again, Carlos and Piotr, who was part of the Tracksuit Mafia too, and Frosty, we kind of stuck together and kind of made our lives a little bit easier, where we could hang out outside of work. So if it wasn't for those guys, it would have been a really, really tough time.
You know, it kind of reminds me, I was in the Army a long time ago, and I got stuck in Saudi Arabia, and they'd stick us in these trailers, and 11 of us were stuck out for like 30 days at a time. I guess you bond pretty significantly when you can't go anywhere else.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And you work on your job. You work on the characters. I feel like for guys that didn't know each other, the Tracksuit Mafia, we really, really connected, and there was a lot of stuff that wasn't on the page that we just kind of worked through and developed, and we were fortunate that, Kevin Feige and the Marvel Universe liked what we were doing. And I think it's a testament to us just being friends, quick friends, and learning each other's ability and just jamming. So it kind of helped us out a lot on the show.
You know what's interesting, because I've gone through your history. You've done everything from Smallville to Supernatural. I mean, how many great adventure, superhero, fantasy stuff do you get hold of now? A lot of that is due to your obviously skill, but do you think being 6'5" helps you get certain roles?
Well, it definitely helps me get certain roles, but it also hinders me. I think it's the same with everybody. Somebody that's smaller gets certain roles than a bigger guy. So same with being typecast. Everyone's typecast. Tom Cruise will never play a bouncer. He's a leading man. He's that type of action star. And I get, when I first started, I was playing bouncers, and then it's one of those things where I just wanted to tell stories more, and so you put yourself in a position of doing short films for free, doing indie films for free, because there were projects and roles that I wouldn't usually get, like playing a dad or playing a guy in a wheelchair, things that don't have anything to do with my size. And once I put myself out there and did things for free and did plays, barely getting paid, it kind of elevated me, not only energetically knowing that I can do these other roles, but it shows other people that, oh man, he can totally do this. He's not just this. So I just think putting yourself in a position that you got to love the work, and you got to put yourself out there and roll the dice on yourself. And I think that's what led me to the career that I have right now, with people seeing what I believed I could do more than just the typecast.
You know, it's interesting. You've done a bunch of series. You've gone from Hawkeye to Snowpiercer, and now you're on Amazon's new series, Silent Service. I mean, what's that like with that show? Because I know that show's filmed everywhere.
Well, that show was filmed all in Japan, and being part of Silent Service, it was originally a manga show that was done in the '80s. So they developed a massive fan base, huge cult following, and developed an amazing story along the way since the '80s. So for it to be live action, and the creators and that got behind the live action it was just something really special to be a part of. I play Admiral, five-star Admiral Logan Stein, and he's a part of the Navy, and there's Japan's Navy, and we come to an agreement that we'll be working together. And then we realize there's this Captain Kaeda Shiro who has Japan's first nuclear submarine. I don't believe it. My character, Steiger, doesn't believe he has a nuclear weapon. So then it becomes the trials and tribulations of does he or doesn't he? And he attempts to realize his ideal world, what he would want to see. So, and story, it kind of makes audiences think about true peace amidst the complexities of the international relations and the morality of when you have power like that, what are you doing with it? So you go through the trials and tribulations of 8 episodes of the drama and the suspense of where these choices take you. So it's really interesting to be a part of. I loved working in Japan. The Japanese production and the actors were phenomenal. Very respectful culture. It was just really, really fun to be a part of something like that.
Are there any differences between, let's say, shooting in Atlanta and shooting in Japan as far as the crew and everything else? I mean, was there a cultural difference for you?
Well, it was definitely a cultural difference, but it was, I don't know, man. The idea of respect is first and foremost in the Japanese culture. So getting the set, and I loved how everything, we didn't have trailers. We basically all hung out in one spot, which I kind of dug. I loved meeting the extras and the other actors, and everyone's conversing. And then if you wanted to have some alone time to go through your lines or just have a moment, you can find a place where you can hang out and no one will interrupt you because they see that you want to be alone. So it was different, but again, it was just I haven't been a part of professionalism in a different country like that. And so it was really it was great to be a part of it and work through a translator, which I've never done before either. And then, even talking to the director where we're just kind of motioning and trying to figure out each other's language. And as time went on, we didn't even have to speak. When we wanted one more, can we do one more? It was just rolling of the fingers of just let's go again. And he'd give me the thumbs up. So it was cool to communicate in a way where it wasn't always just language.
Now, what's interesting is that, you grow up in Canada, you start in amateur boxing. When did you realize you're going, listen, I don't think this is going to be a career?
Oh man, I love boxing. I love boxing with a passion. I love doing it whenever I get it. I love watching it whenever it's on. But it was one of those things where I just felt because I played in a band first. So I actually boxed since I was born with my dad, because I have 3 generations of boxers. But I actually started playing music on my own without anybody around, without my dad around. So music was a huge part of my life and writing songs. And that's storytelling to me. I love the idea of storytelling in song. Boxing, I feel like, is storytelling. I have a certain way to box. Whoever I'm boxing has a certain way to box. Now we're both going to tell a story through physicality in the ring. And I've always looked at it that way. So when acting came around, I just found it another venue to tell stories that it really spoke to me in a different way. So I never, even though I loved boxing, I just felt like I was always meant to tell stories in this way, and the longevity of it. It was just something that spoke to me louder than any of the other ones.
When I hear stories like that, I know that the military allowed me to take a lot of crap later on in life, and, fighting in the ring and putting up with stuff. I'm sure that had to allow you to deal with a lot of times that you wanted to quit and you're like, no, I got this.
Dude, you are bang on with that, because you can't quit in the ring. You just can't. And the other thing is, boxing allowed me to be under a stressful situation and still be relaxed, because you can't be tight and nervous and scared. You have to channel that through relaxation. And that's the best way you can use your weapon in boxing, is when you're relaxed. So boxing showed me that when I was, doing a big emotional scene in front of 40 people and a camera in front of my face. That's scary. That's scary stuff. I learned how to relax through boxing. So that has helped me. I found through notes in there that has kind of helped me with my career and where I am today.
Now, You know, what's cool about working on different productions depending on who's putting them on. I mean, from what I hear, Marvel really takes care of you on the set in comparison to some indies where you're like going, you do your own makeup, you do your own hair, but the Marvel sets just seem a little more elaborate. Were you surprised being on a Marvel set in comparison to, let's say, like a Smallville set or a Supernatural set?
Oh, dude, it's a different beast. It's totally a different beast. It's they've done such an amazing job with all their shows. Being a part of the Marvel universe in general was just a gift in itself. And then getting to Atlanta and the way they took care of us, the way they communicated, everything that just encompasses being a part of a massive production was right there. And yes, they took care of us like I've never. I mean, War for the Planet of the Apes was another big production that took care of us, but Marvel is on a different level, and it's just great being part of that universe.
Now, every time a show ends, you hear people talk about the family they're going to miss and all the people they're going to miss. How hard is it when you spend 9 months with somebody to suddenly go, well, I guess we're going off on our own directions now?
Well, it is tough, but I mean, you've built those memories. It's one of those things. Like I just finished a project, and we were talking about how no matter what, if we don't see each other for 10 years, and the next time I see you, it'll be back to exactly where we were, because not a lot of people got to share that experience. And I feel the same thing about with Hawkeye and Carlos and those guys, of just no matter where we are in the world or how long it takes, when we see each other, we know we went through stuff. And you being a part of the military, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's like time doesn't pass. And those are the coolest things of building relationships, being a part of shows that I really loved, and knowing that I get to see them hopefully once in a while, and it just brings you right back to where you were before. So those are special moments, and I'm very fortunate that I get to repeat those type of moments with the different shows that I'm a part of.
Now, you mentioned you have a musical background. I mean, for example, I run a law firm. I do radio shows. I'm a stand-up comedian. I write comic books. How hard is it to separate your passions and go, okay, I got to focus on this passion, even though I really want to be doing this?
Oh man, it's I don't know. I don't think it's different at all. Like, I love playing music, and I still play music with the guys that I grew up with, and that I was in a band with, and we still talk. We have great conversations. We talk about new songs. It's great for me that to kind of use a different part of my brain creatively, and keep my acting aspect of it fresh, and I keep the music of it fresh, and the boxing of it fresh. So compartmentalizing it between the three has been really helpful for me personally. And right now I just started. We're launching in April, but I have a canned water company that we're launching here in Canada at the end of April, called Legend Water. And so again, that's something else that gets me thinking about other things besides staying focused on just one thing. I think it's nice to be fresh on the different aspects of your life.
Well, talking about the water company, because I was reading about that, and very few people actually make a difference in the world, about doing something to improve our world, to solve a problem. We can lead very selfish lives. Was it growing up in Canada that you said, listen, I want to preserve nature. This plastic stuff is killing us. What can we do?
Well, I mean, the first person that really kind of took notice, and he's a buddy of mine, and Jason Momoa, who has his own water company, and plays Aquaman, and he's an advocate for getting rid of single plastic use bottles, and just getting recyclable, getting aluminum. And by coincidence, this opportunity came with three other partners that for us to start a canned water company in Canada. And Canada has some of the cleanest water in the world. And so when we decided to do that, we also had this idea of, helping in the mental health aspect, because every one of us, at least 1 degree of separation, if not a 0.5 degree of separation, have known somebody struggling with mental health issues. And so we decided to put a QR code on the can that says Legends Supporting Legends, with a blurb, if you're struggling, you click on the QR code and it'll take you to a suicide prevention hotline, but it also takes you to rehab and addiction facilities to help you if you need to go somewhere. So this was something that we just wanted to kind of, 20 years ago, this wasn't a topic that people talked about. Now we want to celebrate the fact that you can talk to people about it and that it's okay, and there is no stigma a part of it. No matter if you're a 6'5" guy that does action movies or if you're somebody working in an office, we all go through our struggles, and not a lot of us can handle it by ourselves. And I think as humans, being a part of this world, we need to talk to other humans. And so this is something we really, really wanted to kind of put out there. If we can help one person holding a can that decides, hey, I think I'll click this QR code and I need to talk to somebody, then we've done our job. So we're really excited to get that into the world.
You know, a lot of people aren't realizing how bad it is out there. They think that, suicide is just somebody being weak, somebody having the inability to appreciate their own lives. But I've lost about 3 or 4 people in the last 4 or 5 years on it's become such an epidemic, and people, kind of hide. They don't want to talk to people. They don't want to do something. How do you, I'm sure you've had to deal with this, as an individual, you can't fix somebody else's problem. So how do you make sure that they get the help they need?
Well, you're absolutely right. Like, people go through their own struggles, and I think that's where the professionals come in. People that work in this atmosphere that have helped people over and over again. I don't want to claim to be the one to come to and talk to. Even though I'm an open ear for anyone that's struggling, but I mean, I'm not a professional, and that's where we have to put the resources out there so people can feel comfortable talking to the people that know how to talk to people going through situations like this. And it's tough. We don't know what people are going through, and it's not a selfish thing when people, decide to take their own life. It's an illness. It's something that needs to be talked about. It's not a weakness. It's something that they need help getting over. And we've all lost somebody close to us, and the last thing I want is to not be able to have an opportunity to help. And Legend Water, I think we're going to be doing some great things once we get the product out there into the world in late April, and just help whatever way we can. And again, it's not a stigma anymore. Let's celebrate the fact that we can talk to people to get through situations, and I think that's a good thing.
Wow, that's amazing. I appreciate you're out there doing that. We have about 2 minutes left. And one of the things I like to talk about, because I also write comic books, and I'm always out there signing my books at conventions and everything. How unusual or how amazing is it for you to, because of Hawkeye, because some of the other shows, that you're out there on the road meeting fans, taking pictures, telling stories, going on panels, introducing people to your life?
Honestly, it's one of the joys of my life, because when I first started, one of my best friends, Tom O'Pennicott, who was a part of Battlestar Galactica, he was doing a lot of the Comic Cons, and he brought me along to a couple of them before I actually really started booking anything. And just to watch people get so excited, like be a third party, like behind the door, and I'm watching people get super excited and emotional that they get to talk to the guy that they're really that they've been watching for 4 or 5 years, being a part of this show. And then I get the opportunity years later to be that guy too. And I love sharing stories. I'm just as excited as fans when they come up to me, super excited to meet me. I'm just as excited because they want to meet me, and we have this kind of opportunity. They're telling me about the show. I love personalizing and signing stuff for them, taking pictures. I know what it felt like. One of my first experiences, and it was something that it didn't even click in my head, but it happened. So I grew up in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and I'm a Winnipeg Jets fan. So I remember going to the Jet game early so I can see the guys skate around. And there was a player that was on the Montreal Canadiens called Serge Savard, who got traded to the Winnipeg Jets. And I was like, he was my guy. He was like, oh my God, that's Serge Savard. I was such a fan. And now he's playing on my home team in Winnipeg. And he was doing the morning skate, or the pregame skate. And I was by the door where they walk off to go back into the dressing room. And again, I'm maybe 6 or 7 years old. And as he was walking by, and I'm in awe watching this massive man on skates walking past me. And he just looked at me, winked and smiled, and walked through the door. That moment stayed with me for months. As you can see, it stayed with me for years, because I still remember it precisely. and he probably has, he's probably done that to thousands of kids, and it's just a simple gesture. And knowing that I get to give just a little bit of that to somebody, it fills my heart, because I was that kid that got that wink, that felt like he saw me, like I was seen. And if I can do that to somebody in just the smallest way, that just makes me happy as hell, man.
Well, that's amazing, man. And I can't tell you, Alex, how great it was talking to you, and look forward to talking to you again.
Thanks so much for having me on, man. Have a great morning.